Hey y'all, Bad Girl Mystic here. Today's video in the Coloring Connection series that I've been putting up on Instagram this year with my Coloring Book of Shadows Magical Planner 2020 and how I use this book and the information in this book with my own creative, playful healing practice that I do daily to restore my nervous system from the effects of lifelong trauma of PTSD and the past 7 years um, dealing with and learning how to live with a traumatic brain injury. So doing consistent coloring has been fantastic. I've had problems in the past staying consistent with my coloring, and I would just beat myself the fuck up. Word, truth. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, like Untamed Tuesday. Today I had this thought, like, what if the demons are just our shame behind a tough guy mask? And I was talking yesterday about shadows, and Tuesday's kind of become my shadow journaling day. And I mentioned I have some situations going on here that are hitting my own triggers. So, what are you looking at? This is a page I worked on yesterday. And what kind of came up for me, and it's so strange, like you would think something would come up with all this, with this hostile man situations where I've dealt with I've dealt with a lot of hostility and fear and trauma, but that's not it. What's coming up for me is the shame. And it's funny, when you do coloring, like sometimes a shadow will come up, and I'm just showing you, and it just seems so small. But within that shadow is a lot of information. So what came up for me is I watched this great video that the author of the book, Amos Azari, had put together on coloring and using blending and shading and varying different pencil techniques. So I'm kind of showing you. And yesterday I had all this plans and I did a little blocking, as you can see, in terms of what color palette I'm going to use on this page. But then I started practicing doing Amy's blending work. I'm trying to not, I'm putting so much shadow on this myself on the phone. There we go. So I'm kind of showing you, like, I got into it. And Amy teaches it that, the way that you learn in art classes, you do a gradation page of all your coloring pencils and, oh, I'm getting a lot of shadow. And, it's just kind of funny. Talk about shadows and I'm getting shadows. Anyway, she talks about how you create a page so you see all your colors and you see from dark to light, and it's a wonderful tool. But I found myself rebelling against it. I know it's a great suggestion. I know it works. I've done it in an art class many, many moons ago, but I didn't want to do it. And I realized, like, half the fun for me is just like looking at this palette of color and just waiting to see what jumps out in me next, what speaks to me, what says, hey, let's play with this. And it's so funny. It's so simple. It's a little purple tote of all these different color pens. But to me, this is joy. And so when you start sparking joy, your body relaxes and it starts coming out safe enough to let go of the shadow. And the shadow I had was the shame of being the rebel and resisting doing things and techniques and not doing what I should do. That word should. And I had a teacher once say, like, get rid of the word should and watch your life change. And it's 100% true. So when I have a should come up, that's when I know I have a shadow and I have some unraveling to do. And right here, like, I started just going, you know what? I want to play with this technique and I want to practice this technique. And I had a little bleed through from the other page with these crayons I got. You're supposed to be able to wet them and get like a watercolor effect, but it did have bleed through. So I started like, okay, how can I play with the bleed through? How can I find some colors that will, I don't know, it reminds me of a rose. But anyway, how can I start playing with the colors on the page and what is there from the markers and from the bleed through to create an overall, just play. Let's see where it goes. I don't know. I'm not done yet. But that shame came up. Shame from art class. Shame of like, I'm not a properly trained artist and I struggle with technique. So even though my hands shake, I'll be honest, it's not just from my traumatic brain injury. My hands have shook since I was a little kid. People always ask, hey, why do Carmel's hands shake? And everybody just assumed I was just a nervous, overly sensitive kid. Nobody ever asked me why my hands shake. So I knew why. My whole survival in life was to make sure nobody else found out why. So the shame that I carried of the sexual trauma, the shame I carried of the after effects of the trauma, the shame I carried of the nightmares and the clumsiness and the pain and the fatigue and all, and the lack of whatever in worldly terms people thought I should be doing. So shame came up. And I used to push shame away the way I pushed the physical pain away and all the sadness and all that stuff that comes with it. You know, anyone who's been through it knows it, so I really don't need to explain it. But it's there, and it's your truth. And when you're spending so much time hiding your truth, it becomes a weight and something you're just, it's such a weight on your heart, all that shame. And then, instead of pushing it away, what if we had a funnel? What if we had a place to just let all that tension flow out? A place to look at and take that shame out, that shadow, and ask it, do I still need this to survive? Is this for my best? Be so tender and gentle with the shame. These are the most deeply wounded and hurt parts. And so to move those deep wounds, when you move it through joy, whatever your creative joy is, it doesn't have to be coloring. Coloring works for me. But putting your creative practice in a larger context of what it means to be a woman. How do you feel in the body of a woman? How are you holding your pain? Is your low back tight? Does your neck hurt? Do your shoulders hurt? Do your hands hurt? Do your legs hurt? Do your feet hurt? Does your jaw hurt? Start taking some time to be tender with those spaces. So what I suggest for shadows and tenderness is what's called chi brushing. And you have an emotional body that's just above your skin. It's where your nerve sense your environment. It's kind of like when you know someone's behind you. And you just want to rub your hands together, gather some chi, feel some tingles in your hand, and lightly brush your whole body from head to toe with extra love and attention to the joints, extra love and attention to your ass, extra love and attention to your vagina, to your inner thighs, under your armpits, your breasts, all the places that we have to protect when we're out in the world from predators. Give it some extra love. Hug those shadows. All right, peace out.